The main guy of CCM has just put out a massive album. But the question is, how do I feel about it after listening to it? Brandon Lake has been everywhere. I feel like I went from never hearing his name to suddenly hearing his name once a day somehow. He's worked with, it seems like, every major Christian music group right now, and he's done some solo stuff that has absolutely blown up. So to say that this album was highly anticipated, I feel like it kind of sells it short to just use that term. Everyone was looking to see what this album would do. So it's been out for a few days at this point. How do I feel about it? Well, I think I feel okay about some of it, and then other stuff we'll talk about here in a moment. The opener, called Plans, is a pretty good song. The song, though, feels a little bit forgettable. Even right now, sitting here, I cannot remember how the song goes. I just remember thinking, yeah, it's pretty good. That leads into the title track, though, King of Hearts. And honestly, I thought this song was really good. I thought lyrically it felt great. And it feels like it might be the only song on the album that feels important. Not to say that there aren't others that are decent on this album, but this one's message just felt well-rounded, and to me it makes sense why it would be the title track for it. Because after this, I think the album starts to feel maybe disjointed. We have the massive song, Hard Fought Hallelujah. This song was marketed maybe to death, and it seems like it was talked about non-stop on Christian radio and in Christian media, but also secular radio and media because of the involvement of the artist Jelly Roll. Now I feel hungry. I find the song concept to maybe feel odd. I always feel odd about it when people write a song that they say they've been through hell. And my first thought is, as a believer, well, no, you really haven't. But I get that people go through difficult things that could maybe be associated with eternal torment. But maybe the thing I feel stranger about with this song is the CCM industry's new obsession with Jelly Roll. If you're not familiar with him, he is a quote-unquote secular artist who partnered with Brandon Lake on this song. He has kind of a controversial past. He has been married to an adult film star and has in the past bragged about an open marriage and all of these things, as well as the content in some of his songs being not necessarily matching with the Christian music industry as we know it. So in some ways, I find the newfound obsession with him from the CCM world a little bit hypocritical, because right now we're also seeing a major turn and change in events around allegations with people like Michael Tate of the Newsboys, where people see things in their past and how they've been acting currently, and they say, you got to get out. But then they welcome Jelly Roll right in and almost elevate him to a voice of teaching. That's not to say that I think Jelly Roll is like a bad guy or that he's not a believer and that he's learning things, but I do think it's dangerous when you immediately put people on a pedestal right after they've kind of started to learn and change their lives. It puts a lot of pressure on them, and so I find this hypocritical of the CCM world. Aside from that, I didn't really like this song all that much. It was just like kind of gravelly, and it felt like every time they said hallelujah they were gonna like pop an eyeball out. You know, it was kind of annoying in a way. Right after that, we have the song Daddy's DNA, and truthfully it's an awkward title, and it also kind of has that daddy god connotation to it that feels really awkward. It's a sweet song in concept, but it kind of gets canceled out by the weirdness at times, and it also gets canceled out by lyrics like, how the heaven did I get here? That line happens every chorus, and it just feels really, really cheesy. However, those things made the song I Know a Name featuring CeCe Winans a welcome surprise. It's a decent worship song. You may even notice as I've been talking about these songs, though, that they all feel a little bit different. You know, Daddy's DNA feels country folk. Hard Fought Hallelujah featuring Jelly Roll, kind of a country, kind of an alternative rock thing. Then you've got another worship song, but then typical CCM. It feels scattered, but at the same time, it feels pointed at CCM radio. So say what you will, it's probably going to get a ton of radio play. To me, though, when I listen to it, the chord progressions feel about as uninspired as some of the lyric choices through it. Like those lyrics where you think maybe they sat down and wrote the first phrase that came to mind. But between all of those things, you find these approaches to country and rock. And that feels a little bit like where Brandon wants to go. I'm sure Brandon has a really good heart. I've heard he's a nice guy. It just feels like this album is from a guy who doesn't want to be writing CCM music anymore, who is a little bit forced to throw some worship, throw some CCM on a massive album. So it kind of feels like an album of singles that all came from different albums. Long story short, I just felt like it wasn't very cohesive. Does Brandon want to do a country album? Does he want to do a rock album? Does he want to do a worship album? I think an artist should be able to make the music that they want to, but you do need to think about it as a whole. And it feels a little bit like the label wanted this album to be an album of individual hits, a little bit like a mixtape that's just too long. At an hour and 13 minutes long, it was kind of hard to get through this album and feel like I wanted to finish. On a 1 to 10 scale, I land somewhere between a 4 and a 5, so we'll call it 4.5. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you think I'm wrong. That's okay. Everybody listens to what they want to listen to. If you want to read my full review, you can go to Music Board, and if you want to be part of the Patreon and see these things early, head to Patreon. Bye.